Yes, good morning. How are we doing? Big up to all of you in the chat nice and early. I hope you enjoyed last night. I hope that you're all hungover and enjoyed last night, because if you're hungover, it means you had a great night and you deserve to have a great night. It was a phenomenal ending of football. And England, could it be finally coming home? There's quite a lot of people that are talking about England losing to Spain in the final. And I can't lie, I do think it's going to be a very difficult game. But who cares? Right now, we can celebrate the fact that we've got there. Big up to Gareth Southgate last night. I thought he got it spot on. I thought the subs were absolutely phenomenal when they come on. Palmer and Watkins. What a combination. Fantastic goal. Something that Watkins does best, but something that Harry Kane has not done best this tournament. And that really did show. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and it was a brilliant ending. Superb game. I must now look at it and think, what are we now saying about Gareth Southgate? You said he wasn't good enough. We should be getting to the final of the players, the team that we had, and the draw that we had, and we are there. So fair play. Go beat Spain, and he'll shut everybody up. That's what he's got to do. So let's hope that we can do that. Listen, we're there now. We've just got to enjoy the celebrations and then look towards the moment, of course. More about that in a few minutes. Big up to everybody, though, in the chat. Big up to all of you for being here first and early. Big up to Christopher. Big up to Mr. Lucas. Big up to Steve. Big up to Mum. Big up to Dan. Big up to Tony. Big up Brady's Banana. How are you, mate? Hope you're well. Big up to Chris. Big up to Melanie. Big up to Mel. Hope you're well, Mel. Big up to Triumph. Big up to Sam. Big up to Boss Boob La. Some great names this morning. Let's talk transfers. We are going to talk a little bit about England first of all, and then of course we will get into the transfer news, which as ever is starting to heat up. Whether you're an Arsenal fan, a Manchester United fan, a Chelsea fan, an Ipswich Town fan, a West Ham fan, please do join us this morning and spread the word, because we're going to be here 8:30 every single morning, Monday to Friday, to make sure you're up to date with all the transfer news. I will say just quickly, this channel does not have ITKs. I am not an ITK. I don't have an in the know to tell me who these transfers are happening with and how reliable they are. I just share the news. So that's all I do. Because there's a few people I think might get confused about, oh, is Dan this kind of scout or ITK guy, or who does he know within the clubs? I don't know anybody within the clubs. I just see what's reported. I share what's on the news at the moment. They are more reliable than me, and for a lot of the content creators who have fan channels, because we are not Fabrizio Romano or David Ornstein, but we do take the news that they break and share it and see how reliable we believe it is as a community. So that's what it's all about. Please make sure, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button. Please make sure you hit subscribe. We're asking people to hit subscribe for the pure fact that we're trying to get to 30k, and we are creeping towards 21k very, very quickly. So please make sure that we can get that going so that we hit 30k ASAP. If you've done like and you've done subscribe, two of the things that are absolutely free that I ask for the bare minimum on this channel, then we will get going. Let's talk first of all about England very, very quickly. Now, I did do a show last night. If you haven't done it or seen it yet, please make sure that you go check it out, because it was a great one. I had Just Joe with me over at Just Joe's channel. I had Dan Lawless with me. I had Dan United with me, and we talked all things England. And we have to start, of course, with this guy. I was so happy for him. You know, I'm a big fan of him. I do think he's a great player. I must say, I actually feel that Ivan Toney offers a lot more as a footballer in terms of his all-round play. But when it comes to finishing, there's no denying that Ollie Watkins knows where the goal is. He is absolutely brilliant. I'm a big fan, and I was so happy that he came on, and what he did, what I thought was sensational, which is have a dig and have a crack. And moments like that, he will now remember for the rest of his life, as will the England fans. It was a great business. To bring on both Ollie Watkins and Cole Palmer. So you have to credit Gareth Southgate for that. He has definitely left it late at times. He's definitely refused to bring in players. I can understand why the frustrations are thrown his way in relation to Trent Alexander-Arnold and, of course, Anthony Gordon. But you have to say he got it spot on last night. I thought from the first minute to the last, he was pretty impressive. I think the style of play was there. We looked more creative. And this guy deserves to be celebrating. I was really happy for him. And I think that players like that who come on and they start to get a murmuring of, oh, what's happening with Ollie Watkins? Is he going to get frustrated? Is he going to be unhappy that he's not starting games? Well, last night he looked pretty happy, didn't he? And why shouldn't he be? It was a really good ending. One that in the 90 minutes I was starting to wonder was going to go to extra time or penalties. And then we get pretty much an extra time. Injury time, winner. Performances as a whole, I was quite impressed with as a team. There were some individual performances I thought were pretty quiet. I thought Harry Kane was pretty quiet again. I thought Jude Bellingham was pretty cute again. I didn't really like the performance of Declan Rice, who I've been a big fan of. I thought he looked a little bit jaded and perhaps a little bit washed out. I didn't think he was on the ball. I think he gave away the ball for the first goal, which Xavi Simmons scored. We'll come on to that in a minute. I thought the performance, however, looked a lot more positive in certain areas of the pitch. And I have to say, I thought the best player on the pitch was Kobby Minu. At 19 years old, this player is so comfortable on the ball. He looks a phenomenal talent. And I knew how good he was for Manchester United over the last few months, but to step and do that and take that form to your country, I mean, big up, man. Fair play to him, because I was so impressed. I really was. I thought it was a phenomenal performance from him. And I thought he really was by far the best player in our midfield. I thought he was making everything happen. He looked to be turning and driving forward. He was spraying the ball forward. He's got a great pass at him, great weight of pass, a real calm in head, and a just composed performance. So I think for me, it's one of those. Let's just get rid of this idiot in the chat. I think for me, it's one of those that you look at and think, you know what, Kobby Minu is a player who I can see why people are looking at now. I can see personally why Manchester United fans are bigging him up. I don't really get the England Seedorf comments. I think we need to calm down, get a little bit carried away, don't we? But I understand why people are praising him, because he's been phenomenal. And I think he's been one of the standouts of the tournament, I must say. Really impressed with him. I've got to say it again. I'm not saying it because I'm a gooner, because I've just said that Rice didn't have the best of games. But Bukayo Saka, you know, I absolutely love everything about the kid. You know, he'll play anywhere you put him, whether it's a wing back, whether it's a right winger, whether it's a left back, left wing back, left winger, into to the left eight, up top. He can go anywhere, mate. This kid is a phenomenal footballer and has a lot of pressure on him. As the years have gone by, Bukayo Saka has had pressure on him, whether it be for club or country. He's been the player that everyone will look at and go, wow, what's happening with him then? Is he world class? Has he got the minerals? Well, yeah, he has. He's a phenomenal talent, absolutely phenomenal talent. And I was so pleased for him. Scored the goal last night. Obviously, it was offside in the end, but I was really happy for him and I hope that that continues, because Bukayo Saka in an England shirt has been phenomenal. So there has been great players. I think Saka and Minu deserve a mention. The other player who deserves a mention is Mark Guehi, because last game he was out, Konza come in and did well, and people forgot how good he's been. And, you know, he's been phenomenal this tournament, and he's stepped up and he's really looked not out of place. He's really been able to step up to the mark and wear that England shirt with pride. And let's be real, it could have been quite a heavy England shirt for him. He's the youngest defender we've got out there at 23 years old, and he should be the one that is being coached by the likes of Stones, Walker and the rest. And to be fair, he's been one of the better ones. So I think that's a massive respect for what Mark Guehi's done in an England shirt. So we now go and move on to Spain, and that is going to be a tough game. I thought Foden looked a lot better last night in his natural kind of number 10 position, and I thought we saw glimpses of the Man City Foden. We deserve to win. Let's be real. We deserve to win the game. And that's exactly what we did. Bit of a lucky penalty, bit of a poor goal to concede. They did it at the bar, but so did we. And we, let's be real, hit the woodwork a couple of times, and Foden had one cleared off the line. I think we were the better side. So we move on to the final. And yes, it's lucky how we've got there. Yes, it's been an easy draw. Yes, it is not Gareth Southgate, hell you for getting to a final, because we should be there, but we are there. So we can't sit there and start pointing the finger too much. Let's get and move on to the transfer news. And let's start with this guy. Now, this is the guy that has also got to the final for Spain. And it is, of course, Dani Olmo. Now, there's a couple of rumours about Dani Olmo today. And it is in relation to his release clause that apparently is running out on Monday. Now, it's a £50 million release clause, and the day after the Euros, it expires. So watch this space on Dani Olmo. Where is he going to go? Is he going to leave? Leipzig at the moment, they will have to accept £50 million if it's activated. It's a player that I think has really lit up the Euros. He's also gathering a lot of interest in a number of leagues at the moment, the Premier League being one of them. Would this be a good signing? Manchester City have been linked previously. Chelsea have been linked previously. Arsenal fans talking yesterday about how they would like to see him as competition for Martin Ødegaard. I think it'd be a phenomenal player. I really do. So let's see what happens with Dani Olmo. Sky Sports News are reporting that Chelsea are not interested in activating the 50 million release clause, but I would not 100% believe that when it comes to Chelsea, because for me, Chelsea have the ability to do some crazy things. So if that is something that they're interested in doing, they will do it. I think he's an excellent player. I've been very, very impressed. And a lot of people are saying that he has done better at tournaments than he has for his club. But from what I look at, I think he's been a really good player for his club. Manchester City have been interested with the rumours that KDB is leaving, but obviously they've got them heart set on other players as well. And Arsenal are a team that I think could do with another creative midfielder. I understand that Fabio Vieira is there and so is Emile Smith-Rowe. But after Martin Ødegaard, how reliable are they? Smith-Rowe looking to be leaving Arsenal if the right price comes in. Fabio Vieira not trusted by Mikel Arteta and rumours that he's not happy with the training. So I think we should be all over this if there's an opportunity. And that's something that I think can happen because of the release clause. And I will say it quietly. Edu loves a release clause. So watch this space. That's Dani Olmo. Let's move to this player because Eze is being mentioned quite a lot. And I love this player a lot. I think he's an absolute baller. I love his versatility. He looks very creative. He's a flair player. I love everything about when he's on the ball. He can see a pass. He can thread a pass. He's got great link-up play. He knows where the goal is. Can play in a number of positions. I think he could play in the left 8 for Arsenal. And I think he can cover for Saka. He also can play on the left wing, and he can probably cover for Ødegaard. This is a very, very clever signing if Arsenal were to be all over it. And we are, according to reports, very interested. We've contacted the agents, and we're looking at how we can get potentially Eze over to Arsenal. Now, there is another North London club that are interested. Spurs have been interested for quite some time. And again, this is a player who has a release clause. So if anybody does want Eze, it's quite easy to get him. You activate the £60 million release clause, and then you talk to him and see how you can get him over to your club. And I think that Liverpool, Arsenal and Spurs all interested. Arsenal has to be one of the best projects out of those three clubs. Not only is he staying in London, he's coming to a club that we believe are going to be fighting for a title again, trophies again, that are playing Champions League football and have a good chance of going into the latter stages of it, and has a great chance of playing a lot of football because there's positions at the left 8 and over in the wings where Saka needs a rest, Ødegaard needs a rest. Left 8 position isn't covered at the moment unless, of course, Declan Rice is going to be the long-term replacement there. I think this could be a really, really good opportunity for Eze. And I think that at Arsenal, a club that he was at before, if you remember, left us at 12 years old after the youth academy. I think this would be a phenomenal sign for Arsenal, and I think we should be all over it. I really do. Let's talk about this next rumour. Now, the next rumour involves Manchester United and PSG, who, as I've mentioned before, are both after this guy. Now, I'm a big, big fan of this guy. I think he's a fantastic player. Joao Neves, 19 years old, Benfica talent, Portugal international. And PSG and Manchester United are set to rival each other for the signing of Benfica's Joao Neves. Now, I don't think he's going to come cheap, people. It's a player that I look at and think would be a phenomenal talent in the left 8 for Arsenal. I think he's got everything that could light up the Premier League. However, he's young, he's expensive, and this could be as much as an Enzo type deal. I think if PSG and Manchester United are serious about this one, they're going to have to start at 80 to 90 million and go upwards because that won't be accepted. Now, Benfica, we know what they're like. We've seen how much they sell players for. João Felix, Enzo Fernandez. The list really does go on. But I think he'd be a phenomenal player for the Premier League. He looks really, really decent. I get a little bit of lightness towards Asante Cazorla in terms of his quick feet. I think he's a player who lights up the midfield and can be a very, very good ball carrier. And the little bits that I've seen from Joao Neves suggests that he can definitely play as an 8 in more of a box-to-box role, but definitely is one of those players that has the ability to go forward, not just with ball carrying, but also up the field as well. So I think this could be a phenomenal signing for a team. But Benfica, we know they're not going to let him go for 50 million. This is going to cost at least double that. So this could be a huge, huge, big money transfer fee if it was to come in. And if it was one to go across the line, Manchester United will want to be in with a shout. We know Manchester United have got money. We know Manchester United will spend money. Will they spend up to 100 million on one player in one position when they need so many? Watch the space on this one. I think this one has some legs for PSG and Joao Neves. Let's see what happens there. The next rumour is not really a rumour that's new. It's about Nico Williams. Now, we heard yesterday from The Athletic that Arsenal are looking at him as their number one target as a winger. Arteta really likes the player, and why wouldn't he? He's lit up the Euros. He's been a phenomenal talent and one that I would absolutely love to see come to Arsenal. But it is being reported in Spain that Barcelona have agreed a deal in principle for Nico Williams. Now, we know that he's got a release clause. We know that it's £49 million, around about 50 odd million euros. Barcelona is who want him, and he apparently has his eyes set on Barcelona and wants to stay in Spain. Now, there's rumours that Barcelona might need to sell. So watch the domino effect here. This could be a couple of signings that Barcelona, or a couple of players, should I say, that Barcelona are looking to get rid of. One of them is being rumoured to be Rafinha, lit up the Premier League at Leeds, went to Barcelona as a dream, could come back to the Premier League. Now, Arsenal have been linked previously. Would we go in for him again? A lot of Arsenal fans saying, no, thank you. He chose a club that wasn't us. When Barcelona come knocking and he's Brazilian, he's going to go, isn't he? Let's be real. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on this one. I think Nico Williams is a top talent. Would we be able to release the clause? Absolutely. But we're only going to do that if we believe the player wants to come to Arsenal. And I don't know that he has got his dream and heart set on a dream move to England. I think he wants to stay over in Spain. I expect Barcelona to be the clubs who are going to be favourites to get him. So I think we need to take a look closely at this one and the movement after the Euros. I don't think much is going to happen at the moment with Nico Williams. Obviously, he's over in the Euros enjoying it. And after the final, we'll see what happens. Let's take a look at our next rumour, which does involve Manchester United. It is this player, Scott McTominay. Now, he's a player who's been at Manchester United for a few years now and has been a very steady Eddie player. I don't think it's one player you can look at and think is absolutely total garbage. I do think that there are definitely concerns over the role of Scott McTominay, but at 27 years old, he's a midfielder that I think has the right attitude at Manchester United. I don't think he's one of the players. I said yesterday about Harry Maguire and how, you know, the mentality of a Bruno or a Rashford or potentially an Anthony is a hell of a lot more worrying than the players of Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay. Now, whether you rate them or not, I personally wouldn't want them in my squad, but they're not the players I think you need to look at getting rid of first of all. And Football Insider through the BBC is saying that United are also planning to bring in a midfield, but this summer they're looking at the reinforcements before they're considering any offers for Scott McTominay. So I imagine there will be offers for Scott McTominay. I don't know who it's going to come from. I know Newcastle, West Ham and Fulham in the past have been interested. Whether they're interested still now or not, I have to be, remains to be seen. But I do think that Scott McTominay is a squad player at Manchester United and probably could do a job there still this coming season. But we'll have to see what happens with this one. This is definitely one that I do think has legs, and I think will be a player that Manchester United will definitely consider 100%. But you need to look at how serious the offer is. I don't know what it would cost to get Scott McTominay out. I think they'll probably be able to get 10 million, I imagine. I don't think it would cost much more than that, 10, 15 million for him. 27 in Scottish international, will give 110% and can play in the midfield role. So maybe it's not a bad signing for one of the lower division clubs or one of the, should I say, the Premier League clubs that lower in the table. Now, I want to talk about Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town are exciting me. Ipswich Town are exciting me because I've followed them for years and I've liked to see their results and see how they do. They're across the border in the county of Suffolk, where I'm an Essex boy. So I've always wanted to see them do well. When I was growing up, I had a few Ipswich Town fans that were local to myself. So I've always been interested in their results. But I've really become excited by Kieran McKenna, and I really like the way that he is doing his business. Now, we all know that Kieran McKenna had a background in the under-18s at both Spurs and, of course, Manchester United before he went and took the job at Ipswich Town. And some of the players that he was bringing in at Ipswich Town, he knew from under-18 level. There's no doubt about that. Getting Brandon Williams on loan, getting Dane Scarlett on loan, Amari Hutchinson, who Arsenal and Chelsea both know about. He's now signed him. These are players that he clearly knew were upcoming and were going to be decent. And now Ipswich Town have an obsession, people. It is an obsession with Hull City because the next three players I'm going to be linking Ipswich Town with all have links to Hull City. Now, two of them are currently at Hull City. One of them's at Manchester City as a player, but was on loan at Hull City. And it looks like that's the first one that they managed to get in the door. Liam Delap, we all know, is a Manchester City centre forward, one that's very highly rated. I think he's quite young still. I don't know how old he is. I believe he's 19, 20, 21, something like that. Maybe he's a bit older. But he is definitely a youngster who has been very highly rated. Now, links to Rory Delap as well, I believe. But Manchester City have agreed a fee with Ipswich Town, which I believe is £15 million plus 5 million add-ons. And this will be an interesting signing and one that can definitely grow. Now, they've signed Amari Hutchinson. They're looking at Liam Delap coming in the door now. And there is a couple of other deals that they're looking to try and get done. And Ipswich aren't stopping there. Ipswich are trying their very best to keep going with the signings. And Jacob Greaves is the next one. Now, Jacob Greaves is the centre-half for Hull City, 23 years old. And the English centre-back looks to have completed his Ipswich Town medical ahead of the potential move from Hull City. Now, he's not the only club looking at Jacob Greaves. There was quite others that were looking at him as well. And as you know, it does not stop there. Ipswich are still trying their best to bring in Philogene. Now, Philogene is a player who's wide, attacking player, and is now having interest from Aston Villa as well. So very highly rated. Hull City had a very good season last season. They're very attractive to watch under Liam Rossini, and I think a lot of people tip them to get a late surge towards the playoffs. I'm really interested to see what Ipswich Town do. I really am. I'm very, very, very interested to see what this might mean. Now, Philogene is not at Ipswich yet, but obviously Ipswich are looking at him. I think there was Everton that were interested in Philogene and Greaves as well, but certainly Aston Villa have now put themselves into the mix. I think going to Ipswich would be a fantastic move for these young lads. I think together they could really build something under McKenna. Young upcoming coach, highly rated, young team that he's trying to put together, and a young team that he's trying to actually give a chance in the Premier League. You know, he's not trying to go for the Harry Maguires or the Tyrone Mings, or he's not trying to put in bids for Aaron Ramsdale or bring in Eddie Nketiah or Smith Rowe like we thought he might be doing. He's actually going for players that he believes in, that have absolutely 100% desire and passion when it comes to playing in the Premier League. And that's why he's going for the championship players and the top championship players. And I think with the right attitude and the right togetherness that I think Kieran McKenna can bring, Ipswich Town could do something special and try to aim for that 16th, 17th place, which I think could be interesting. But we'll see. Some people think you need experience. They've got experience. Ipswich have got experienced players as well. Sam Morsey's not exactly a young lad. Another couple of players they've got in there that have got experience of playing, but Premier League, it's very different. Very, very different indeed. Let's take a look at the next rumour. This one, it does upset me a little bit. He's a player I really, really like, and he's a player that I've always liked. Monaco have rejected a £30 million bid, which is 25 million just over, from Nottingham Forest for the 25-year-old France midfielder Yousef Fofana. And Romano has suggested that he has since agreed terms with AC Milan. It looks as if this is going to get green lighted. Romano is pretty much here we go'd it. He's going to be an AC Milan player, and I'm so disappointed. I think it's an absolute steal to be looking at somebody of that quality, a 25-year-old French international, box-to-box midfielder with all the attributes you need in your midfield. To have that accepted at 25 million and to be looking to go to AC Milan, I think is a phenomenal signing. And I said that I liked both Yousef Fofana and Khéphren Thuram as options for Arsenal, and it looks like they are both going to be playing in Italy. Khéphren Thuram obviously going to Juventus, and now Yousef Fofana looking to go to AC Milan. And I just wonder why Arsenal have not looked at this one. There must be other midfield options, which we'll come to in a minute. But for me, this would have been an absolutely superb signing and one that made total sense. 25 to 30 million pounds for a France international at that age, with all the attributes Arsenal need in their midfield, I think would have been fantastic buy. But he's on his way to Italy, and it looks like the Italian club AC Milan are going to get their guy, and it's been a really good signing for me. That let's work out and see what he does there. There is, of course, players that don't fit leagues better than others, but I think this is a really good signing for AC Milan, and Romano has green lighted it, so therefore it will probably happen. Big shame, I would say. Big shame, because I'm a huge fan of him, and it's one player that I wanted. Joshua Kimmich and Yousef Fofana are the two that I would 100% look at getting at Arsenal, but it looks like Fofana might be done. So maybe there's another midfielder later on that we're going to discuss that might be interested. We are going to talk about a midfielder, but it's not one that's linked with Arsenal. We haven't spoken about him before. He is a free agent, and apparently Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid are all possible destinations for the 29-year-old French midfielder Adrien Rabiot. He's a free agent after his contract has expired this month, or last month, should I say, with Juventus. And reports in Italy are suggesting that Liverpool, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid are all interested. Now, we reported yesterday that Bayern Munich have got to try to sell players before they buy. Liverpool, I think it would be an interesting move for him, actually. The problem you've got is he has definitely got some problems upstairs in terms of his mentality. There's some issues there, and I know people will talk about his mother being a nightmare. I don't think that Adrien Rabiot is a bad footballer at all. I think he's actually a very good one, very, very comfortable on the ball, and I think would be good to add to anyone's midfield. But there's something about his mentality that I just think that clubs are trying to look away from. Arsenal would be one of those. I don't think he would fit into the dressing room at Arsenal at all, but he would do elsewhere. Real Madrid being interested in him is very interesting for me. I know that they're looking at Cruz and obviously Modric at their age and Cruz leaving. So I think that they're going to look at that option in midfield and think, where are we at? Real Madrid's midfield is fantastic. They don't really need to add to it, if I'm honest with you. If Modric is staying one more year, you've got Valverde, you've got Camavinga, you've got Tchouaméni, you've got Jude Bellingham. I'm not so sure they need another midfielder, if I'm honest with you. And Rabiot probably wouldn't be that guy that they'd look at. Bayern Munich is interesting. I think they've got to sell before they buy, from what we hear. So I think there will be a domino effect over at Bayern Munich where players leave. But Rabiot could be a good signing for Liverpool, to be fair. Liverpool have got a decent midfield. I'm not so sure that Rabiot would be the answer for their DM. They definitely do need a DM. I think Endo's been fantastic for Liverpool, but they do need a Joao Paulinho type of player that comes in there and totally bosses it. So I think that one will be interesting. Talking of Joao Paulinho, it looks as if he's going to get his move finally, and he will be off to Bayern Munich in the next 24 hours. 29 years old, Joao Paulinho is now. I think he's around 40 to 45 million pounds, which I think is an absolute steal for a player I rate very, very highly. I think he's absolutely lit up the Premier League. In terms of that position, he's probably one of the best in the Premier League, along with the likes of Rodri and Rice. I think people would put him in the kind of bracket down from that and say, yeah, you are the next best when it comes to defensive midfielders. And I think Bayern Munich have got themselves a very, very talented player here. I think it was a great signing for Fulham and one that was probably overlooked and underrated. I think he's been an excellent player, and he's one that I would 100% have looked at if we were interested in that sort of position and coming in and being a first choicer. But for me, I think it'll be a good signing. I think Bayern Munich will do well there. And the other player they're, of course, looking at is someone who scored against England last night, Xavi Simmons. It's not 100% completed, like I was told a few days ago, but Bayern Munich are looking at this player, and apparently he is going to decide after the Euros, which, to be fair, isn't too far away. Sunday will be the final. Monday onwards, we've already spoken about the release clause that is going to be expiring of Dani Olmo. So watch the space here. And Xavi Simmons is the other player, 21 years old, Netherlands forward. PSG just not interested from what we hear at keeping him, and Bayern Munich want to sign him. Now, Bayern Munich, we've been told, have to sell if they want to sign. Now, if they're going to get in Xavi Simmons as well as Paulinho, Bayern Munich definitely are going to be looking at players leaving. Now, we know De Ligt is probably on his way to Manchester United, but watch the space on Kingsley Coman, watch the space on Serge Gnabry, Joshua Kimmich, Goretzka. It might be there's one or two others as well. I mean, Leroy Sané, watch this space. I think Bayern Munich are going to look to sell a couple of players, and I think they're trying to freshen things up under Vincent Kompany there. So I'm going to look to see what happens with Xavi Simmons. Let's talk a little bit, as we always do, and finish on Arsenal. Now, Arsenal are at the moment being very, very being spoken about very much so. For good reasons and for also some rather embarrassing reasons, which we'll come to in a second. But Arsenal 100% looking to get players out. Now, one of those players who we are looking to sell and looks to be leaving the club, finally, people have actually forgotten this player, is still at Arsenal. Yes, we are talking about Nuno Tavares, or Nuno Tavares as he is called. The Portuguese fullback at 24 years old now has agreed a deal to go to Lazio. Arsenal have accepted a loan offer from Lazio with an obligation to buy between £6 to £7 million. Now, we actually signed him for around that a few seasons ago. He didn't really light up anywhere that he went. He didn't light up Arsenal. He had defensive problems. He had mentality issues with Arteta. He got into the team ahead of Kieran Tierney when Tierney got injured, and he stayed there for a while. I always thought he was a better left winger as opposed to a left back. I don't think he has any defensive qualities at all. Most of his attributes are all for bombing down that wing and getting forward. I don't really mind this signing, this player leaving, and I think it's a fair signing. I think it's fair money, and I think it is a player that we just have to get rid of off the wage bill and away from the club. So this could be a good signing. Lazio is a good club. Lazio will probably look after him, and we got our money back for him, really. I don't think it's a player we can look at and say is an absolute hell signing. He has been a flop at Arsenal. He hasn't really delivered anywhere that he's been on loan. Nottingham Forest weren't interested in him. Marseille weren't interested in him. Although he had glimpses at both those clubs, he didn't really set down a regular starting place. So I don't think he is going to be a huge loss for Arsenal, but at least we got our money back for him. And it's not like it's been an absolutely disaster of a signing that we have to cling on to and keep loaning out because nobody wants. Lokonga, likewise, looks very, very close to be leaving to go into Seville. So watch the space on this one. But for Nuno Tavares, it looks like he is off as well. Let's talk about another player that Arsenal have who is being linked with a move away, not just to the Premier League, but also now abroad. It looks as if Marseille are very interested in taking Arsenal's Eddie Nketiah. Reports in France suggest that the 25-year-old England striker could be on his way to France. And if you remember now, the Marseille boss is De Zerbi, and he likes Eddie Nketiah from what we know. This could be a bit of a bidding war, and I am prepared for one. Trust me. I don't know what money we're going to get for Eddie Nketiah, but the good news for Arsenal is if players are wanting to leave, which I think Eddie Nketiah will now for first team football, I feel like there could be a bit of a bidding war here from some of the Premier League clubs. It is a striker that would come in and do a very good job for one of the Premier League clubs towards the lower end of the table. Now, I'm talking about the likes of Everton, potentially Fulham, Wolves, Palace, even West Ham. Looking at a striker, would they rather have Eddie Nketiah or Jean Duran? Don't think there's much difference between those two players. And if it's 50 million reported that Villa want, then I can understand why Arsenal want 50 million for Eddie Nketiah. I don't think we're going to get it. I think we're going to look to try and have to agree at around 25, 30 million. But we should be trying to go for that price because I look around and I think, yeah, unfortunately, as much as that's a crazy figure, that's what the market's suggesting. So watch the space on Eddie Nketiah because I do feel like there's some movement there. He's definitely a player that needs to be leaving the club. We do need to be upgrading upon him. I don't think it was a bad decision to put him on the contract to try and keep his price tag. I just think 100k a week in the number 14 shirt was never going to work out, in my opinion. So I don't think it's a shocking decision, but it's not one of Arteta's bests. I do look at the player and think that he's an okay player. I don't think he's going to take Arsenal anywhere. And when we're throwing him on against Bayern Munich away, Arsenal need to be doing better than that. So I think we need to keep an eye on this and what develops from Eddie Nketiah. Maybe if you do get the players and the teams interested, such as Wolves, Palace, Fulham, if it is West Ham, Forest, Everton, you can start have a bit of a bidding war and people start saying, we'll give you 15, we'll give you 20, we'll give you 25, we'll give you 30. And that's how you get the price up for Eddie Nketiah. So we'll have to see what interest comes. But Marseille are the favourites at the moment and they are looking at him. So I do feel like there's an opportunity here to get a little bit of money for Eddie Nketiah. So, yeah, keep an eye on that one, people. The next player who would like to get a move away from Arsenal is, of course, Reiss Nelson. We've spoken about him before. West Ham are favourites at the moment. I think the Athletic and certainly West Ham ex-employee, who's a big Twitter account, were talking about how Nelson has got his heart set on staying in London. So that would probably alert the likes of Palace and Fulham as well. But for me, I think it would be a good signing for West Ham. He actually would play first-team football as well because Kudus is a top talent. He'll probably play right. Bowen, I imagine, will probably play up top because they haven't got a striker at the moment. But those two positions being taken up probably leaves one space because Paqueta, who did play out there on the left last season, is not available due to all of the rumours of his gambling stuff. And then you've got the likes of Ben Rama and Paul Fornals who have left. I think Reiss Nelson's got a chance of playing first-team football at West Ham, and I think it would be a good signing. Now, I don't know how much he will go for. I would like to try and get as much as we can for Eddie and Nelson. I think for Nelson, you're probably looking at 15, 20 million pounds tops. I don't think there's much more we can ask for that. He hasn't really managed to settle down a first team place. But when you look at what the other players are going for, such as Elliot Anderson for 35 million, maybe we should be asking for 35 million. Let me know your thoughts in the chat and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I do feel like this is definitely a bit of business that's going to happen. And I will say, I think it'd be a good signing for a club. I think, I wish nothing but the best for Reiss Nelson. He's a proper gooner. He absolutely loves the club, as likewise Eddie does. And I think he deserves first team football now. At that age, when you hit 23, 24, you want to be getting first team football. You want to be the first name on the team sheet in one of those teams. And I think for West Ham, he could have a good career. Palace, likewise, don't sleep on that one. Elise and Eze being both rumoured with moves away. Elise going to Bayern Munich and obviously Eze being linked with Premier League clubs. It looks like Palace might need to look at wide player options, and I know that they were sniffing around Reiss Nelson, so that could be a potential destination for him if it isn't West Ham. But certainly London clubs looking at him. I would not be surprised to see Reiss Nelson go. I just don't know what the price will be, and I would be looking to try and get as close to 30 million as we can and accept anything between 15 and 25, to be fair, with some add-ons. So I expect that to get done. Now let's talk about a little bit of a negative. It's not a negative, it's just a bit of a strange one. Dan Bentley. Now, Dan Bentley is the Wolves' backup goalkeeper, who they signed for a minimal fee of 35k. So that means that Arsenal have gone in yesterday with a bid of 50k. Wolves have said they want £1 million. They've not said they want 50k. And Arsenal have gone in to try and be cheeky, to try and get a little bit more than what they paid for last season or the season before. I don't feel like this has got any legs at 50k. I do feel like it probably will happen, and it has got some legs towards 1 million. Now, it might be that you want to haggle a bit. I'm cool with that. I'm absolutely fine with Arsenal haggling. I have no problem with Arsenal saying, I know you want 1 million, we're only going to give you 500k. And they go, well, we'd really like 800. And you go, okay, well, what about 700? That's how you negotiate. You don't just come in the bid and go, we'd like 1 million. Okay, what about 50k? They're, of course, going to go, no, thank you. And Wolves have got the right to say how insulting that is. Because it is insulting, not just for the club, but for the player. This is a player we really like, that has a great character, that we want to get in because of his attitude and how good he is and how we know him through the Brentford goalkeeping coach that's ours now. And we offer that? That's embarrassing. You know, I did a show about it yesterday and got quite a lot of stick for it, really. And I don't think people like sometimes the negative side of where we are. I personally do not feel like it is something to get behind and go, that is a fair offer. They should accept that straight away. Wolves, it's their player. They can ask whatever they want for it. We are not scrimping and saving here. 50k, it's just a mad one. All I will say, whether this one gets done or not, he's going to be the third choice goalkeeper, that's for sure. And I don't know who the second choice is going to be. Now, Aaron Ramsdale was linked with a move away from the club, and we want 50 million for him. Now, that is a hell of a big asking price for a goalkeeper that with a £10 million more extra, you can go and get Diogo Costa for. That probably for £10 million extra, you can go and get Michael Minu for. I'm not sure people are going to be looking at Ramsdale at 50 million and thinking that is good business. I don't know who's going to pay 50 million. Might have to be a club abroad, because certainly no Premier League club at the moment needs a goalkeeper of that ilk at 50 million that is in the top. I think Manchester City would not be interested in getting Ramsdale to replace Ederson. I don't think Manchester United want to replace Onana with him. I don't think that Chelsea are going to look towards Ramsdale with that much money. I think they're going to head towards a Costa or a Michael Mignon. I don't think that Newcastle are interested in a goalkeeper now that they've got Pope and the other guys they bought from Forest. So where's he going to go? Liverpool certainly don't want to replace Alisson. So I don't know who's going to be paying 50 million. It's not going to be Bournemouth, Wolves or Fulham or somebody like that. I don't think they've got the money to spend 50 million pounds on him. So I don't know. Where's he going to go, man? Maybe Aaron Ramsdale's going to go abroad. Maybe a club like Juventus will come in, or I don't know, AC Milan or someone like that. Maybe if one of the big name goalkeepers leaves from Atletico Madrid, like Yoao Black or Michael Mignon from AC Milan, maybe he'll go there. But I don't think we're going to get that. I think what we might have to do here, if he wants to go, is we might have to accept a 25 to 30 million pound bid from Wolves, Bournemouth, or someone lower club in the Premier League. I think that's his best option. I don't want to be selling him for anything less than 28 to 35 million. I don't want to be selling him for any less than that, because that's what we pretty much bought him for. And he's had 2 seasons at Arsenal where he's been top level. He's been a brilliant goalkeeper in the last couple of seasons for Arsenal since we've had him. And I'm a fan of him, a real big fan of him. So let's see what happens with Aaron Ramsdale. The player, though, that we are being linked with and have been linked with for a while now to come in as backup is Justin Barlow. Now, I don't know much about him, but the final goalkeeper is apparently happy to come and sit on the bench at either Manchester United or Arsenal. I think we need a goalkeeper like that to replace Aaron Ramsdale. And I think it looks very likely that it could be a Barlow and Dan Bentley combo, and they will be our 3 goalkeepers. Raya, somebody like Barlow, and Dan Bentley. So watch the space on Arsenal's goalkeeping situation. I think when we look at it, there's nobody big coming in goal. We're not getting the huge number one that I would like. We're not getting a Costa, an Oblak, or a Magnon. I don't know that we're going to get someone that comes in and can rival David Raya. You just pray that he doesn't get injured. That's all I will say. So, yeah, let's take a look at what we think might happen in the goalkeeping area at Arsenal. Let's look as well at this player, because Mikel Moreno is a player that Mikel Arteta really likes. And he's doing well. And he's doing very well. We're in a position where we need a midfielder. He has got attributes Mikel Arteta likes. Reminds me very much of a Granit Xhaka mould. You know, he's a player that can come in and do that type of role in the 8 at Arsenal. Definitely more of an 8 than a 6, but he has got attributes that I like in midfield. He's very tall. He's got presence, comfortable on the ball, good passer of the football, has done well with Spain, has done well in the box, obviously scored the winner against Germany. So there's parts of the game that I do like. Zubimendi, his colleague and partner over, teammate over at Real Sociedad, is staying, we believe. I don't think he wants to leave Real Sociedad. And I've been impressed with the whole Spain midfield. In fact, I've been impressed with the whole Spain team. I can see why teams are looking at the Spanish midfield in particular. You know, Pedri is a phenomenal talent. You've got Fabian Ruiz, I think, has been probably one of the players of the tournament. Rodri, we all know how good he is in the Premier League. Mikel Moreno being spoken about. Lamine Yamal spoken about. Nico Williams spoken about. You think, wow, I know Cucurella and some of the other guys are playing well too, but you look at that midfield in Spain and you think that's going to win them the tournament if it does get across the line. You're going to look back at that midfield and go, that's what won you it. That's how good you were. So I personally feel like there's going to be quite a few Spanish players this summer having some bids coming their way. Dani Olmo, we've mentioned. I think Lamine Yamal is going to be looked at very, very heavily over the coming years. Obviously, Mikel Moreno, we've spoken about. Fabian Ruiz, we've spoken about. Nico Williams, we've spoken about. Quite a few of those players might get clubs bidding for them. So I think we need to watch the space on this one. I think there's definitely some movement. And Arsenal, at the moment, are being spoken about in the transfer window, and it's nice. Hopefully we get things done early. I expect movement on Calafiori. There's no update today or this morning about what's happening there. But of course, we're trying to agree a fee with Bologna that they want 50 million euros. We would rather pay closer to 40. And yet again, we're negotiating over pennies. Just get it done, Arsenal. If you want the player, get him in. Allow him to be part of that pre-season. Let's do it quickly because it starts soon, people. Once that Euros finishes, everyone will be travelling back to get ready and start preparations for pre-season. So I want Calafiori in. I want this goalkeeper situation sorted. And I want to try and get players in as quickly as possible. Links with Eze, links with Moreno. If we're interested, let's get them in. They're easy deals to get done. One of them's got a release clause. The other one would happily leave Real Sociedad to come to Arsenal for the right price. Very, very easy to do. Just lastly as well with Arsenal, no striker. No striker at the moment. No link. Very loose links with Victor Osimhen, Victor Gyökeres. Ivan Toney's being mentioned. I would say Ivan Toney's probably the easiest one to get done. If you wanted to go and get a striker in, pay the money, get 50 million from Brentford and go and play him up top. It'd be a good signing. A very good signing for somebody. I know Chelsea will be interested. Manchester United looking at him. Spurs were loosely linked with him. Arsenal have been linked with him for the last couple of years. He's going to get a move, and I think he's going to do well. So if we had a summer window that was quite a realistic window of Ivan Toney, Eze, Mikel Moreno, Calafiori, and a goalkeeper, that's 5 signings there that I think can easily get done and easily get done quite quickly and would definitely take us forward. Now, I don't know if it's going to get us across the line. It's not a Musiala. It's not a Declan Rice. It's not a Alexander Isak that makes people go, wow. But these players just aren't available. You know, I'd love to go and get De Jong. I'd love to go and get Bruno. I'd love to go and get Alexander Isak. I'd love for us to do that. I'd love Musiala to come. I don't think it's happening. If I'm honest with you. But maybe there will be a shock. Maybe Arsenal will put in mad money for Musiala. Maybe they'll put in mad money, go and get Leroy Sané. Maybe they'll go and get Frankie de Jong. I have no idea. At the moment, it doesn't look likely. Arsenal definitely need that wow signing, but I don't know that they're going to go and get it. Maybe we'll be sniffing around Joao Neves. I just don't know. But I just think it's very unlikely at the moment that Arsenal are looking at that type of player that we spend that £150 million price tag on, or 105 million like we did on Declan Rice. So watch this space. Listen, people, make sure you've hit a like on this video. Have we got to 100 likes? There's almost 300 of you watching. Have we got to 100? We're 4 away, people. Make sure you click that like button, please, and subscribe to the channel. Those 2 things are absolutely free. If you do want to click the notification bell, it will tell you what time we are on. Please make sure that you are tuning in today at 1 p.m. I have a very, very special show with a very, very special guest, somebody you all know very, very well and somebody you all absolutely love, and a good friend of mine as well. It is, of course, Curtis Shaw from Curtis Shaw TV. Myself and Curtis will be here at 1 p.m, so make sure you do not miss it. We're going to talk all things Arsenal. We're going to talk about transfers. We're going to talk about what we need. We're going to talk about the season ahead, preparations for pre-season, and get his thoughts as well. So please make sure that you do come and follow us on at 1 p.m. Make sure you've clicked like. Make sure you've clicked subscribe. Make sure your notification bell is on. And I will see you at 1 p.m, people. Take it easy. We're out of here. And as always, as I always say it, up the Arsenal. Take care, people. Have a great day.